And so the fact of the matter is that we really are actually hardwired to work. And I'm sure you've heard this. I'm sure Andrew's talked a lot about this. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the biblical basis for this, but I will just spend a couple of minutes making sure that we're grounded in what the scriptures say about work. Okay, and I could probably say, okay, tell me what God says, tell me what he does, but let me just do a quick synopsis in light of our time. And so we look at Genesis, of course. Everything starts with God. When you're reading the scriptures, can I give you a tip? It's always about God. Always. You may think it's about you. It's not. The scriptures are always revealing, God is revealing God's self to us. The secondary thing is you. But it is primarily always about him, always. And so we see, and everything comes from God and is initiated by God. And so first we see in Genesis 2:2, right, we see God spending 6 whole days as creator and designer and web design and artistic director, and then director saying lights, camera, action. And we see this work, this hard work of God for 6 days. I'm sure Andrew's talked about that. We hear Jesus say later in the book of John, say, my Father is always working, and I too am working. And so we see in that just alone, those 2 scriptures, the work ethic of God. Okay, it starts with God. It moves out to God's image bearers, us, all people. And moving out into God's image bearers in Genesis 2:15, for example, we see God give incredible work before the fall. I know Andrew's mentioned that. That's huge. I remember when I got my head around that. Wait, before the fall? Yeah. Before the fall, that he hardwired us to work, he gave us work, care for creation. Tend the gardens. And steward, he says rule over, but it actually means be a steward of the animals and the lives, all of creation. Be good stewards of it. And that he charged us with that. So we see that, and then a little bit later on, it's interesting because you look in Thessalonians, for example, Paul's letter to Thessalonica, or to the people at Thessalonica, and we see in Proverbs and other examples, lots of examples of basically this, blunt, right? You don't work, you don't eat. You don't work, you don't eat. No freebies here. Don't be lazy, my paraphrase. You don't work, you don't eat. It's so blunt. Don't be looking for handouts and freebies. Work, and don't be lazy.